South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Good morning. Welcome in. It is Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles, Alex White, Kenny White, alongside already hard at work here early getting you ready for everything here on a Wednesday morning. I almost said it was Tuesday. Yesterday was Tuesday, Alex. Yesterday was Tuesday.
Today is Wednesday.
We get another day closer to the Selection Sunday, NCAA tournament, and more. And, you know, let's just hit it. Let's get right to it. Starting last night, and, you know, I'll at least say I'm guilty of this last night. We kind of underestimated the sandwich spot for Auburn last night, where they beat Kentucky in Lexington for the first time since the 90s. They have Alabama on Saturday, and A&M pretty well handled them last night. That game was really never in doubt. A&M wins by 11 against Auburn last night, 83-72, and Kenny is the sloppiest that Auburn has looked all season long. They did not look like the team they've been through the first basically 30 games of the season.
Yeah, TGIFW. Thank God it's Wednesday, because yesterday was a bad day for me from start to finish. It just seemed like if it could go wrong, it went wrong. And Auburn was kind of in that same boat. You're right. We completely missed that. When I saw the score and I looked, Alex may not have said she completely missed it, but they had clinched
the
only
SEC.
One who didn't. Clinched the SEC. You just mentioned it, beating Kentucky, and then they got Alabama on deck. That was just such a meaningless game to them. They mailed it in, and it's so much easier to see the day after. But we know why, and that's why. And I could do a little lesson: upgrading, downgrading power ratings, and adjusting. Anyone who downgrades Auburn because of that game is crazy. Leave their power rating exactly what it is. They just did not come to play. It was a flat spot. You end up, maybe not betting on them when you should, or betting against them when you shouldn't. So leave the rating alone. You got to throw out games like that.
First of all, I think you added an F-bomb in your, thank God it's Wednesday, so that's how strong you feel about it. But
TGIF?
W, you added the W, but you should have just replaced the, it's okay.
Yeah.
It works either way, so.
That's okay.
But,
yeah.
No,
well, that's the way I feel about it, because I'm telling you, it was the worst day. When you look at my 3 plays on the whiteboard, St. Louis, they're only up, 83 at halftime, and they lose I lose by a half. I even took 7.5 later in the day. So I took 6.5 in the morning. They were up 15 at half, something like that, and they lose. The Georgetown-Villanova game, I think they needed 16 points in the last 344 to beat me. So if they got 4 points a minute, that's 160 for a game. They're normally going to get 3.5. Normally you would win that game. And UNLV San Diego State, same thing. They made every shot down the stretch. Both teams, they couldn't miss.
Well, you can't be too hard on yourself because the dog of the day won outright.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Which we'll get to right now. BYU becomes the first team ever to turn the ball over 29 times in a power conference game and still win. Now, yes, 29 is a very random number, by the way, from our friends at OptaStats. But, boy, that's 29 turnovers against a top 25 team. They were 0-1-17 before that last night, and here you go. Iowa State came down from 21, forced double overtime, but not enough in the end for BYU. Not to be overly delicate here, but they've just been playing their ass off over the last month, ever since that game in Morgantown, which was a big bubble game. Now BYU safely in the NCAA tournament, and you're just playing themselves up 4 or 5 seed lines at this point over the last month, Alex.
I really feel like that game said a lot about both teams, because to see Iowa State with that comeback was very impressive, down 21. They just did not give up in that game. And we saw them go down against Kansas State earlier in the year, and they had no shot at getting back in that game. So we saw a lot from them on that side. And then BYU, with all those turnovers and still finding a way to win that game, definitely said a lot about the Cougars as well.
Yeah, it's 23 turnovers, though, in a regular game. Two overtimes kind of help those turnovers. But BYU showed how good they are to go into Iowa State. And it was a flat spot for Iowa State. But they showed, as you mentioned, Alex, the grit that they have. And they're a really good basketball team. So game was 2-0, 4.5, 5 minutes into the game.
Wow.
2-0 for the first 5 minutes, and it flew over. And it didn't need double overtime. No. I think it still went over the total in regulation.
So I just want to say about the Auburn game, because I did not say it with any strong conviction at all, but I did bring up the fact that they had clinched at least part, and I probably should have told you guys as well, because on Monday I saw a video floating around, and they were all celebrating when Alabama lost, and underneath it, in the caption, it said, won't be sharing anything, kind of thing. So it was a sandwich spot. They had already beat Kentucky, looking ahead to Bama that they're going to face again. So, but I did bring it up, but then I also brought up the fact that Houston and Duke had no letdown spot the day before. So,
what was the win over Kentucky? First time in Lexington. How many years?
Since the 90s. It's been a long time.
Is that right? They haven't won there since.
Yeah, I think it was their first win there in 28 years.
Wow.
I think that's what they said on the broadcast. There's some ridiculously long time they had not won in Kentucky. Might have even been longer, because Pitino, I think, might have even been the coach still at that point.
Wow.
There you go. All right, let's get into today. We'll get some college conference tournaments that are beginning a little bit later in the show, but we'll motor on through these games here as we always do. Let's start in Ann Arbor. Michigan, who got clocked on Sunday at home by Illinois. I'm still not convinced this Michigan team is all that real. I think we've talked about how they've just continually win tight games. When they lose, they get smacked. Now they take on Maryland, who, again, with the Terps away from home, not as good as they've been at home, only one home loss, which, of course, came with that ridiculous shot by Holloway at Michigan State. Maryland had a very slow start over the weekend, and Penn State came back, won by 4, didn't cover. Now this is 2.5, Alex. I almost want to go out and say just find an alt number on Maryland at +4 and take it, because Michigan doesn't win by more than 4, so you at least get your money back. But that's not a winning way to do this. But I don't know what to do. I think I'd lean to Maryland, actually, because they happen to match up very well with the duo of Wolf and Golden inside, because of how good Queen and company are on the interior for Maryland.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this Maryland team a lot, and the size that they do have with Queen and Reese and a couple other guys on that team. So I do like Maryland in this spot, taking the points. It didn't quite make the board, but you talk about this a lot too, Dad, with kind of how is Michigan's confidence right now that they did just lose by 20 to Illinois? It's either a bounce back spot, or maybe they feel a little deflated at this point coming into this game against Maryland.
And the little pressure, too, at home, losing 2 of the last 3 home games. And now they put themselves in a spot that, They need to win out if they expect to tie Michigan State for the conference championship. But I think they've overachieved most of the year. Dusty May's done a great job. No one expected him to be this good. Juwan Howard, you can tell, was a horrible basketball coach. He brought the program down, and Dusty May steps in, and his system works right away with whoever he wants to plug into the lineup. So they're very good, but they've overachieved. Maryland, I think, has the better talent. They just have not played like Michigan has played this year. And I know Jeff doesn't really like Kevin Willard as a tournament coach, but I mentioned his dad the last time out. His dad was the same way as like a Jim Larinaga. Willard would play well against teams when he was a dog, but when they were a favorite, they didn't play well. He just didn't get his teams up. It seems like they got to motivate themselves. I think they'll be very motivated here, knowing they're a dog. I'm taking the points with Maryland.
We might be 3 for 3 on this game, even though these have been pretty reasonable when we're 3 for 3 with all of us on the same side. It would be a lean to Maryland. I don't know if I think I'm in the same boat as you, Alex, where would not be strong enough to make the card. But Michigan gets out to a nice little lead. This number bumps up. Might be able to get some better numbers in game on the Terps here in this one. All right, the game of the night and a number 1 seed potentially on the line in the NCAA tournament in Tuscaloosa tonight as Alabama welcomes Florida. Bama, of course, coming off of just what was a melt at the end of the game. You're up 4 with 25 seconds left. You're supposed to win. They managed to lose in regulation as Meshack throws in the 35-footer at the buzzer for Tennessee. Florida, after the loss to Georgia, great bounce back, really put it on A&M, beat them by 19. Now the scene shifts here to Tuscaloosa. Teams haven't played each other yet this year. Alex, Bama's 3, and even at 178.5, I don't think this total is high enough with both of these offenses, and the pace will be ridiculously high in this game because both of these teams want to run.
And you're right, 2 top 5 offenses in the country. The pace will definitely be there. I think that you are okay going with the over. I just took Alabama on the money line. You're talking about coaches. I trust Nate Oates to have his team after that loss in Tennessee, which Tennessee is really playing really good basketball at this time. So it was a tight game throughout that whole thing. They were playing more at Tennessee's pace, but I like them in this spot as a bounce back. We've seen them do it all year long besides one, and that was against Auburn earlier on when they did go to Mizzou and then lose that one too. But instead of laying the points here, I have them, and we'll get to the next game after this, but I'm just taking a money line minus 155.
Yeah, it's amazing in college basketball, the highs and the lows these teams get from just game to game. There's just not great consistency. We just talked about Florida beating Texas A&M 89-70 by 19, and then A&M beats Auburn. Here's Alabama losing to Tennessee, and now they've got Florida. I think there's motivation for both teams in this game, but maybe a little extra for Bama. Florida, the last time they played was in the conference tournament last year, and Florida beat Alabama and knocked them out of that conference tournament in the first round. And I think Alabama's the slightly better basketball team. So I laid 3 with Bama here. Florida's had a great year this year. They are 21-8 ATS, 12 units up if you bet them every game. But on the road, they're just 5-4 ATS. They've done their work at home. So I'll take Alabama in this spot.
The one question I have with Bama here, this hellacious stretch that started on February 15th, where they've gone Auburn at Missouri, Kentucky, Mississippi State, at Tennessee, Florida, at Auburn, then the regular season. And then the SEC tournament pops up. That's the only concern I have in this game with Bama. When you go in this sort of gauntlet, and especially where it is, again, we'll talk about what we missed with Auburn yesterday with the sandwich spot. You have Auburn, you have that brutal loss at Tennessee. The only advantage for Alabama here is this game is at home. Yep. This is a big advantage here to get this game in Tuscaloosa as opposed to having to go down to the old O-Dome there in Gainesville. All right, let's go to Indianapolis next. Butler welcomes Xavier X-Men are 3.5 on the road here in this one, Alex, with a total of 154.5.
So this is my moneyline partner with Bama, Xavier. A little bit bigger of a moneyline price, but when you tie them out, it's more than plus 150. I got plus 155 for these two just to win outright. I like the motivation for Xavier here. Right now, they are the 5 seed in the Big East, and they want to keep that spot because 1 through 5 do get a bye in the conference tournament. So Xavier's playing good. They've won 5 in a row. And now with that Villanova loss, that helps them even more going into this game. They're also the better team, so I feel pretty confident that they are going to win this game outright, just not that confident about them covering the spread.
Yeah, I'm right on the number in the game. I'm going to pass. I do understand the motivation, just a tough place to play. 2 real good coaches that have been around, Sean Miller and Thad Matta, so be a fun game to watch, I think, tonight.
Xavier's on the bubble. They've played their way into bubble consideration. Is a game you kind of got to get if you're Xavier. I also kind of like this game over as well. Pace of this game will be played where it needs to be in order to be in the high 70s, low 80s potentially here tonight. Butler and Xavier played about 2 weeks ago. That was a game where with 78 possessions, and it somehow only landed 139. We get 78 possessions again. This game's going over 154.5. There'll be a regression to the positive on the shooting. In that game, I mean, Butler was 26% from 3. They're going to probably regress to the positive at home. Xavier was only 32% in that game. There were a ton of turnovers as well. Butler turned it over 20 times in that game. So probably a little bit of positive regression on that total as well.
Would you make that total?
I think I'm right there. I did make it higher, 159.5.
Okay. So 5 points higher on that than what the market is playing at. Cincinnati's a big favorite at home against Kansas State. We've talked about K-State underachieving and injuries to boot now. Cincinnati's kind of played themselves into a bizarro zone where if they make a little bit of a run in Kansas City next week, maybe they sneak into Dayton as an at-large. Still don't think they deserve to be there, but they could. 136 in this game. I'm just curious. 136 seems a little bit high in this game, especially with the way that Kansas State has struggled recently offensively, and we know Cincinnati's going to want to slow this thing to a halt.
I've got the total pretty much right there, 135 between these two. I think this number is a little rich with Cincinnati, but I can't really fault anybody for playing that side with current form right now and how the Bearcats are playing. I'd rather be on that side, but I lean to taking the points here with K-State.
Yeah, I'm still worried about Coleman Hawkins not being in the lineup for K-State. I think that's a big factor. I think if he played, I would not mind whatsoever taking the points here, taking 9.5 with Kansas State, but I got to have Hawkins in the lineup.
Let's go to Chestnut Hill next. Boston College, who is not going to go to the ACC tournament, welcomes Clemson here. It's 137 on the total now. Clemson's a huge favorite, as big as 15 in the market. It's 14.5 behind us, Alex.
I like this under. I've made it a lot lower. I've got 132 here. I'm trying to see if I have any trends, but Clemson is by far the better team. They're tied right now for second in the ACC, and they like to play at a slow pace. They are really good offensively, but they're also very good defensively, and Boston College struggles to score. So I really think we can keep this game under that 137. Like I said, I made it 132, so it's an underplay for me today.
Yeah, I agree with you. The revenge factor, too, for Clemson. The last time they played was in the conference tournament last year, and BC pulled the upset. So I think they could name the score here. They're just so much of a better basketball team that that extra motivation from watching that film this week before preparing for this game should have these guys fired up and ready to go. The best bet may be a Boston College team total under.
Yeah.
Keeping in the ACC's bottom here. So NC State, they need to win out and get a bunch of help, and then it goes to tiebreakers in order to make the ACC tournament. Go from Final Four to not even making the conference tournament the next year is pretty rough. They host Pitt. Pitt has been wildly inconsistent and bordering on bad in conference play. I mean, they're 7-11 in ACC play for a team that looked like they were going to be a clear tournament team out of non-con. They're 2-point road favorites, Alex, total 141.5 in this one.
This is a stretch for me because I really only have a 1.5 point difference. I got it 2.5 with NC State, but I love the motivation, and you just said it. There is a way for NC State to make it into the tournament. So if they win outright, and they have Miami, Florida up next, so that should be a win for them. They need Notre Dame to lose outright because they did beat Notre Dame this year, and then they could sneak in to the conference tournament. I think they're going to be highly motivated in this one, and you talked about it. Pittsburgh's just been so inconsistent, so even if they don't win, I think NC State will at least keep it close enough. I did grab 2.5. I don't know if there's still any out there. I prefer the hook if people are following and they want to shop around.
Yeah, well, this game was 3 late last night. I agree with you, Alex. All the motivation is for NC State here. Their season's on the line. Their backs are against the wall. Pittsburgh knows they're playing in the tournament next week. So last chance for NC State to get a win here.
This Pitt team has just been such a disappointment. I thought well on their way to getting like a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. Good enough, non-con, and underachieved. Might even throw Cable on the hot seat moving forward with this just mess of an ACC slate. Could easily end up, if they lose this game, I mean, it could go 8-12 in the ACC. This ACC can't happen.
A month ago, talking about this team with Frank Nicotero, who is a Pittsburgh guy, I'm looking up the odds, and it was a favorite for them to make the tournament. It was like minus 125, and now they have really just kind of spiraled downward.
7 of 9 they've lost, and of their last 4 wins, 3 of them have come against Syracuse and Miami. Not what you want in the ACC. Again, their conference wins. They only have 1 win against a reasonable team, and that's North Carolina, and we've been pretty clear on my thoughts on what I think of that NC team this year.
3-8 ATS on the road, too.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. Let's go to Lubbock next. Colorado goes to West Texas to take on Texas Tech, who, again, Texas Tech coming off of a really good win at Fog Allen, a game where they had a big lead. They blew the whole lead. They end up holding on at the end of the game. They win as an underdog and now won at Kansas. Now they return home. Pretty fun, sleepy spots here these last 2 games for Texas Tech. You play 2 of the 3 worst teams in the league. They go to Tempe to end the regular season at Arizona State. This is a huge number, Alex, at 18.5 with a total of 142.5. I'm not sure what to do here. I kind of would gravitate to taking all these points. But if the real Texas Tech shows up, they win this game by 30 against Colorado at home.
Yep, I completely agree with that. I did make Texas Tech 15, so have 3.5 point difference there. But the bigger the spread, the more of a difference you want to have. I also have a little bit of a lean to the under at 139, but not a big enough difference to jump in on the under either. So this was a clear stay away from me.
Yeah, I'm looking to see when they had to play last year. No, they didn't because Colorado
new conference.
New conference for Colorado. But Texas Tech winning at Kansas. When is the last time they won in Lawrence?
So they've won. That was their second win in Lawrence. I forget which year with Beard. They won with Beard there. I don't remember if it was 18 or 19. Was the last time they won at Kansas.
Yeah, I think either way. 2 games left. They do have a 1.5 game lead over Iowa State right now to make sure they get a double bye in the conference tournament. I'm not sure if they have it is at home. That's their benefit. I'm not playing the game. I'm just going to pass. I'm going to stay away. I think there's too many question marks here in this one.
Let's go to Oklahoma next. Sooners on the wrong side of the bubble entering today. I've seen a lot of people this morning and just early morning bets. We know how betting Twitter can be, or betting X, whatever the hell we're calling it these days. We'll go Twitter because that's still what it is to me. A lot of people are in Missouri, which I'm a little bit perplexed on. Desperate spot for OU. Tigers did blow a game in Nashville over the weekend. They probably should have won at Vanderbilt. Vandy came back, won in overtime. It's 4.5 now with the Tigers on the road at an Oklahoma team that, again, I never really bought into. I don't think they deserve to be in the NCAA tournament, especially if they go 5-15 in conference play or 5-13. 161.5 is the total. I know that's where you're gravitating towards, though, Alex.
Yeah, I bet this game over 161.5. I mean, if you look at the pace that both of these teams want to play at, I think it's definitely going to be there for us. Also, Oklahoma's much better offensively than they are defensively. Now, the first game, Missouri kind of ran away with it, and you always have to be concerned about that with the blowout. So it was 82-58. But this one, with the Sooners being at home in a desperate spot, I think we're going to get enough points here. So I went over that total. Both teams are 17-12 to the over on the year.
Yeah, that's a nice trend. And you're right. The pace is going to be there, and both teams are far better offensively than what they do on the defensive end. Missouri averages 84 a game. This could be a back and forth up-tempo game, and I like it over as well. I lean to Missouri here, but I don't think I want to lay the points on the road. I think Oklahoma maybe a little bit more desperate.
I think I'm with you on this one, Alex. I think this is probably a big pace game. Again, I don't really like. If you told me Mizzou won this game by 15, I wouldn't be shocked. If you told me Oklahoma pulled the upset, I wouldn't be overly surprised. But I do feel confident that this game will be played at a quick pace. So I'm with Alex here. Lean to the over 161.5. Hopefully we helped you on that one there, Dean, who asked about this one in the chat. All right, let's go to Minneapolis next. Wisconsin, who could not shoot at Michigan State and almost covered, miraculously enough, in that game. Now they go on the road to a weird place that's always a hard place to play, at the Barn at Williams Arena. Big Ten is very compact at the bottom. We've talked about this with the way that the standings look. The bottom three miss, and it is compact right now. Rutgers got drilled last night in West Lafayette. So you have this huge compactment. Penn State and Washington are pretty much toast at this point. But from Minnesota at 11th all the way down to Iowa at 16th, they're all playing for positioning and even to get into the Big Ten tournament. With that said, I think this is a terrible matchup for Minnesota here tonight, especially with Wisconsin more likely than not regressing to the mean offensively, Alex. I'd look for a money line partner with Wisconsin. Don't love laying 7, but if you made me play it, I'd lay it with the Badgers in this one on the road.
I agree. I definitely think we will get a regression to the mean and them shoot better in this one. Minnesota has not been good covering the spread at home either. They are 4-13 ATS, so that doesn't make me feel great grabbing the points, but they are a desperate team. So I made Wisconsin 7 here in this spot. So no difference for me to jump in. And the total, I think, is right there as well.
You get Wisconsin off the loss to Michigan State. They're right now tied for the fourth seed in the conference for the double bye. I think you have their attention. Their coach is going to get them to play. He's had them play all year. They're 19-10 ATS in the season. They've overachieved, but there's a great offensive team. They're just far better offensively than Minnesota is. I think this game could get out of hand, and I didn't make it much higher than what the line is, but like Jeff said, if I got to make a play on it, I'm betting Wisconsin.
I do just want to throw in with Dean Hill asking about that Missouri game.
Sure.
Do you want to tell him what you made the game as well with the side? Because the over is an official bet for me, but
Missouri?
Yeah.
I made Missouri 7.5 and 166.
Okay.
Going to Connecticut next, and this is a tough one with Connecticut hosting Marquette. Again, I'm not a big believer in this Marquette team. I think they've got a little bit overrated at the beginning of the year and just kind of been stuck on this plateau where they beat teams they're supposed to but don't really play up great. We've talked about UConn all year. Again, it's been a struggle. Just not the same UConn team. And again, it's hard to win 2 in a row like they did. It's damn near impossible to win 3 in a row and really be competitive for a third consecutive year. I don't know what to do with this game. I'm a little bit surprised that UConn came as big of a favorite as they did, but I don't trust Marquette. 3.5 now was 4, 144.5 on this one, Alex.
Yeah, I like Marquette in this one. You talked about Marquette not really playing to their competition and beating the lower teams. I think Connecticut has been doing that all year long, too. The other thing I really like is Marquette's very good defense efficiency. And if you look at their trends on the road, they're 9-3 to the under. So, they play more of a lockdown defense. I think they'll be ready for this one. And, of course, there is some home revenge to take the points here with Marquette on the road.
Yeah, I love Marquette in this spot. Connecticut's just this isn't the national championship team. This is a completely different basketball team that's still trying to find their identity. They're up and down, very inconsistent. Marquette, yeah, they faced a tough schedule. They've lost to some good teams this year, but I think they're the better team, and with that home revenge, I thought they should have been a favorite in the game. So, yeah, I love Marquette today.
Let's go to Oxford next. Good matchup here. Ole Miss welcomes Tennessee. Of course, Tennessee, the drama on Saturday, coming from behind by 4 with 30 seconds to go, winning in regulation on Meshack's Eve. And now they go to Ole Miss, and this is a tricky, tricky spot against an Ole Miss team that is more than quality, well on their way to the NCAA tournament. I wish this came a little bit larger more than anything, and I would take Ole Miss. The market almost has played this like they know exactly, everyone knows exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
Weird spot for Tennessee. Ole Miss, good home team. I can't do it at 2.5. It's just not enough to be taking here with the Rebels here, Alex.
No, we're almost getting to a spot where we can lay it with Tennessee, I think. I mean, you don't want to bet in solely on the spot and people expecting a letdown, right? Especially Barnes is a good coach. I think that he'll have his team ready in this one. Tennessee's the better team. I have them as a bigger favorite here on the road against Mississippi, but was concerned with how quickly people bet this because the look ahead was 4 and now it's all the way down to 2.5.
Yeah, I worry about it too. The spot in this game. Tennessee has a 1-game lead over Missouri for the final, that double bye. I think they have to. I think they have to come to play. I don't think it can be a letdown spot. They can actually even finish second with a little luck in the conference to give them a little better seeding. So I think they come to play. They have to. It's the end of the season. They know what's at stake. And I did make it higher myself. I just think they're the better basketball team. I didn't look for the revenge factor if they played last year against Mississippi, and I'm sure they did. Let's see here.
Tennessee won at home.
Yeah, won at home. So no revenge factor. Wish I had that, but yeah, I still have a difference. I like Tennessee here.
With this conference and the ACC with Duke, I mean, teams really are trying to play for that 2 seed, right? They want to see the number 1 overall Auburn or Duke, respectively. They don't want to see them till the championship game, right? So these teams are really playing hard right now to get to the 2 seed.
We'll just throw this out there, at least with the ACC. I mean, there's such a precipitous drop from Duke to Clemson. As great as Auburn is, all these teams at the top of the SEC are all legitimate title contenders. I think it'd probably be a little bit more of like ACC wise. Oh yeah, you want to see Duke the last possible moment. I don't know. If I'm Tennessee, look, if you get the 2 seed, yeah, of course, your earlier game gets a little bit easier. That 4-5 matchup in the SEC always feels like if they played in the regular season, whoever lost that regular season matchup almost seemingly wins all the time. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. And, of course, everyone in the SEC at least gets one crack at everyone during the regular season.
I think you're also playing for NCAA tournament seeding.
That's the other thing.
As well.
Tennessee, look, Auburn's getting a 1. We know that. They're going to be the 1 in the South. Those other 3 teams are all fighting for that 4th number 1 seed. And whoever has the best 2 weeks of Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee, they're going to be the 1 seed in the West. It's just going to be a matter of who has the best week, and then one of them will have to be in with Houston, and one of them will have to be in with Duke. There is very much better to be that 1 seed in the West, even with the extra travel. All right, let's go to Louisville next. We've talked about how good the Cardinals have been this year. What an amazing coaching job by Pat Kelsey in year 1. Inherited a program that was in complete disarray, won only 10 games in 2 seasons, and now they have a chance to win 18 conference games in year 1, and they're a big favorite at home against Cal here tonight with a total of 154 in this one at the Yum Center, Alex.
And I'm okay with that number. I think that is right for Louisville at home here, about 14. A little bit of a lean to the under, but looking at Cal and their defense, and I trust their offense a lot more, so I'm going to just stay off of this one, but it's a lean to the under. This is the first game this year, and of course, Cal's first year in this conference. Yeah,
the coaching, what Pat Kelsey's done, and I talked about it the other day, 9 players their top 9 players all were at different schools last year.
Mm-hmm.
That you bring in 9 guys out of the transfer portal into a program who's been a great basketball program, but they've had such struggles the last 3 years at least. And now you're 23-6 and you're just a cover machine. But Mark Madsen in his second year at California, I think he's doing a very good job there, and he's building this program. I like to see coaches who cover on the road and overachieve on the road, because I know he's got their guys focused when they travel. They're 9-2 ATS this year in road games. So my number leans to Cal, but I'm really not interested in the game. My numbers are too close. I'm just going to pass.
A sweep of the Northern California teams where Cal and then Stanford come to the Yum Center on Saturday. Louisville gets the 2 seed in the ACC tournament. What an amazing turnaround. I don't know if he's going to win National Coach of the Year, but that's who would get my vote, Pat Kelsey. I wouldn't even think twice about it. Probably will be Pitino in all honesty, but Kelsey inherited a bigger problem than Pitino did, and Pitino's in year 2. All right, let's go Washington and USC to end things here. We talked about that log jam in the Big Ten. Southern Cal's got to win this game. It's just as simple as that. You're playing the worst team in the league who's, again, could technically still get to Indy, but would need a boatload of help and have to win some tiebreakers. USC plays at Pauley Pavilion over the weekend. They're probably going to lose that game to UCLA. So they got to have it spot for USC. The question is 7 a good enough number to be able to lay it with the Trojans here tonight? I would say absolutely not. Do not trust them to cover any sort of margin in any of these games.
I agree, especially Washington has home revenge. If you add that in, should be closer to 4.5 or 5 here at home. I don't know. Is Musselman just struggle in these other conferences? He did so well in the Mountain West, but we haven't really seen him. SEC, and now in this Big Ten, he's really had a hard time getting these teams going.
Well, as we just talked about Pat Kelsey turning his team around, he just got the right players to fit his spot, and maybe he's got a better eye for talent than an Eric Musselman. And Musselman's been around. He's been in the coaching game a long time. His dad was a famous coach who loved the up-tempo offense, and that's kind of what Eric Musselman has played in his career, but I don't think they've played that fast this year. Really surprised. He just doesn't have the guys that fit his system and the way he wants to play. I know one thing, Danny Sprinkle's a really good basketball coach, and his team lost by 24 the first time these two played. I guarantee, even though they've got really nothing to play for here, they've got pride to play for. I think Washington is in this game, and I think all of the pressure is on USC.
Yeah, I'll just say this with Musselman. At Arkansas, year 1 was not good. Made the second weekend of the tournament 3 straight years with those 2 Elite Eights. And then last year was obviously a mess in Hogland. But I think he'll be fine long-term at USC.
Okay.
I think it's just 1 year. And again, this USC program was not in the greatest of shape, even with the talent they had accumulated at Enfield. There's a reason Enfield got out of Dodge and took the SMU job. So we'll see how it all plays out. But
you reminded me of Arkansas. They were my number 1 team in the SEC last year.
Yeah, they were
I think
huge
I had
disaster.
them at 40 to 1 or something like that to win it all, and they were a huge disaster. So
yeah, that's probably it. The expectations were just very high.
Yeah, no, I mean, they were 16 and 17 last year. Like Kenny said, going into the year, it's like, all right, they made the Sweet 16 and lost to UConn the year before with a team that wasn't supposed to be that good, and then everyone came back and they were awful.
I think they brought in a couple guys from the transfer portal too. They were even, they were loaded with talent.
16, 17. It happens. It's going to happen in this day and age. You're going to see it this year in Kansas State. Monster portal offseason, underwater, looking like they're going to miss the NCAA tournament for the second consecutive year.
See, and that's, I think, Pat Kelsey, when he went out and got guys for Louisville, it was like the Golden Knights when they built their team. They were the cast-offs. They build themselves. Hey, we're all cast-offs. I think Louisville's kind of the same way, where when Eric Musselman went out, he already had a loaded offense, a loaded team of talent, and he brought in more talent, and that's hard. There's only one basketball, and if you can't share it, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So I think Pat Kelsey had the right idea. I'm going to go get guys that really want to play and really want to be unselfish players. So that's very important to look for.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we are going to look at the conference tournaments that get underway today. There are also a few that continue, and we'll be doing this all week because, hey, Arch Madness begins tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of fun to discuss as we continue on Sports by the Book right here at the South Point.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Welcome back in at Sports by the Book here at the South Point studio. I'm Jeff Parles, Alex White, Kenny White alongside. Happy to be with you right now. Joey B., our good friend in the chat, who, again, Joey, can you open your sports book? I like money. Asking if UConn is going to be an NCAA tournament team. Yes, they're safely in, even with what has been a tumultuous year for Danny Hurley and company. Especially if they win tonight, they're safely in with these. They're probably looking at an 8 seed right now. All right, let's get into some conference tournaments. Actually, let's start in the Ohio Valley Conference Tournament. And this is one of these give the big advantage to the top 2 seed brackets. SEMO, Southeast Missouri State, your regular season champions. How about that? You don't see that very often with this program. SIUE is the number 2 seed, Tennessee State, the number 3. Little Rock, who is actually the second highest rated team in KenPom in this tournament, is the 4 seed. And then, of course, you got 2 games tonight, which we'll get to in a second. 5 seed Tennessee Tech will play 8 seed Tennessee Martin, and 6 seed Lindenwood, just in year 2 of their year 2 of D1, will take on Moorhead State tonight in that one. Future prices: SEMO's plus 165. SIUE is plus 250. Little Rock is 4-1. Tennessee State is plus 450. And everyone else is 40-1 or longer over at the Superbook, Alex.
Yeah, I think those numbers come just right here for this conference. Didn't see any dogs that I really wanted to jump in on. Did you?
I have Edwardsville winning this tournament because that matchup for SEMO having to play Little Rock and then flipping around and then playing an SIUE team who's pretty similar to those other 2 teams in the way of talent. I just thought that was a little nice, good bracketing that actually favored the 2 seed as opposed to the 1 seed. So I have SIUE winning this tournament. I have no plays tonight. I have all these teams involved tonight are basically sub 300 KenPom. Tennessee Martin, who's the worst seeded team, is the best rated KenPom team of the 4 playing tonight. Skyhawks are 1 in their game, and then against Tennessee Tech, and then Moorhead State is 2 against Lindenwood. I stayed off of both of these games here tonight, Kenny.
Yeah, my numbers are very close on both games. I agree with you. I don't see anything. I would maybe lean towards an under in Tennessee Tech and Martin because these teams are just so bad offensively. The next team's even worse offensively. Amazing. And Moorhead does play slow, but the total's a lot lower. It's 133.5, but you can go under 143, I believe, in that first game, Tennessee Tech and Martin. I was just going to pull my ratings up to see who I have the best team in the conference, and that's the Ohio Valley.
Yep. Right now, KenPom, SEMO is 203rd. Little Rock 220, and then SIU 231. And then it is a nice size drop to Tennessee State, who's 257. It just, again, not a lot of strength, probably a play-in 16 seed awaiting the winner of this tournament.
Yeah, I have Southeast Missouri State, the best team in the conference by 3 points, and then a pretty good drop-off. They're the only team in the conference I have is a slightly above average NCAA Division I team.
Moving along, let's go to the Summit. This is a fun league because, and I'm curious your rankings on this league, because Omaha got the number 1 seed, and they were not supposed to be much of anything this year. If you look at Ken Palm ratings, this team is 178th, which is a solid 50-some-odd spots between the 2, the 3, and the 4 seed, who they're all compact. South Dakota State, the 3 seed, is 120. The Tommies of St. Thomas are 124, and North Dakota State is 126. So the way that I would look at this league is I would definitely would not take Omaha, even though you're getting a nice price. You don't see plus 425s usually on small conference 1 seeds, and that's what you're getting right now. But I would look to figure out of the St. Thomas, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, who do I like the best? South Dakota State's plus 240, St. Thomas is plus 260, North Dakota State's plus 290. I gravitated towards the Jackrabbits. I think they're the most consistent of the 3 teams because St. Thomas and North Dakota State, awesome offenses, hilariously bad defenses. South Dakota State, not as good on offense, but better on defense. So I lean to the Jackrabbits as the play here in this conference, just getting a little bit north of 2-1, Alex.
I do have them top of that conference, so plus 240, I would definitely like that play, especially with the best defensive team in this conference.
I have St. Thomas, the Tommies, my number 1 rated team. However, asterisk, Omaha and North Dakota State and South Dakota State are all just a point back. They're all in a logjam. So it is an extremely solid conference, top to bottom. Maybe South Dakota, who's only 5 points worse off than St. Thomas, would be the next team. Maybe Eric Peterson pulls off an upset in that conference tournament, and we'll see if there's some upsets there.
And we could see, again, I just wonder, so Omaha will play the winner of Kansas City and Oral Roberts tomorrow. Kansas City, by the way, UMKC, the Roos, 5.5-point favorites against Oral Roberts. I don't mind laying that. Oral Roberts is really, really bad. And UMKC is not good, but a little less of a pushover than Oral Roberts. I wonder if with Omaha, just a team unexpected to be there, a team that really has not had much success at the D1 level.
Yeah.
Does the moment get to them here in this one, even against an 8 seed tomorrow night in South Dakota for this one?
Well, I think they'll get past that 8 seed. I think it'll be the next round that we really want to try and capitalize and look at North Dakota State or South Dakota, whoever is the winner of that game. But under in this game between Oral Roberts and Kansas City, because
oh, yeah. Marvin Menzies' team's been playing slow all year long, and he's been a good under guy on the road, 11-3 under in his road games this year. So, yeah, I like it under the total.
Oral Roberts, 323rd, by the way, in Ken Palm. So it's not been a good year for the Eagles, who, of course, came to fame back in that 2021 tournament, winning multiple games as a 15 seed. All right, let's go to the Northeast Conference. The extra board time. Yeah, a lot of fun here. So this is 1 through 8. Reseed, all on home courts. This is historically one of the worst conferences in America, and this year pretty much the same, even though Central Connecticut State actually rates as a top 175 team. They're actually in the top half of Ken Palm, which is a little bit surprising. You normally don't even see any of these teams rated in the top 175. Here you go. Pricing-wise, they're minus 225 to win this league. Long Island's plus 350. Everyone else is 16-1 or longer. I'll just ask you, Kenny, is there any argument to take LIU at plus 350, or is this just chalk city with the Blue Devils here? Just so much better than everybody else in this league here at the lower levels.
4-point difference I have between the two teams, Jeff, and then everybody else, it's a huge drop-off. So it is a 2-team league. That should be the championship game between those two teams, and they were 1-2 all year long. I didn't look to see who if Central Connecticut won both games or not. But being on campus sites, I trust scoring a little bit more in some of these games. I do like the Central Connecticut game over tonight. I think that's one of my better bets in that conference tournament today.
So a season split. Road team won both games in that LIU Central Connecticut series. So
Wow.
road team won both. Central Connecticut, huge favorites against Lemoyne tonight at 13.5. The other games here tonight, LIU is 12.5 against Chicago State. First year in the conference for them. St. Francis, I actually like the dog in this one. St. Francis is 2.5-point favorites against Wagner. Like Wagner in that one, would look for a reasonable money line price at places that have it. And then FDU is a 3.5-point favorite against Stonehill. The only one that stood out as even a potential is Wagner here as a small dog in the upset for me, Alex.
And I was just looking at that taking the points there with Wagner is probably the only real difference I have here. Did you give us the Central Connecticut State and Long Island? Did you have those futures for one of those two to win?
So I don't have anything.
Okay.
So, I mean, minus 225 on Central Connecticut is pretty
Winner.
wild for and I would imagine, Kenny, since you said it's only, a 4-point difference between them and LIU?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to get plus 350 money line on LIU in a championship game. That's probably the only one you can even look at here is taking the Sharks at that sort of price.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good spot for Long Island. Plus that price, yeah.
And plus 350, man. It's a pretty good price here in that one. All right, Big South. Starting today as well, real quick, that only game, Alex, is Gardner-Webb and South Carolina Upstate. The 8-9 winner gets High Point, who we'll get to in a second. Bulldogs are 6 in this one, neutral site tournament in Johnson City, Tennessee. For this one, total 157.5. I didn't find anything here. I think these numbers are just fine.
Not surprised with the total being that high either. Both of them do like to play at a very fast pace. Yeah, a little bit of a lean to the dog, thinking that they could keep it close here and me not making Gardner-Webb quite as big of a favorite at home, but a lot of motivation in this one. So I'm just going to stay away.
Yeah, it's a win or go home game. And anytime you get those, I like to try to make a case for the under, but this game, I couldn't do it. Like Alex said, the pace is going to be there. Both teams struggle to stop anybody at all. Upstate allows 86 a game, and Gardner-Webb allows 78 a game, and they both trended to the over. Gardner-Webb 20-9 over this year. Upstate 17-11 to the over. So if you bet both teams every single game over on the year, you're plus 10 units right now in your pocket. So it could be one of those games that if it gets off to a really slow start, the pace will be there, and they will start to hit their shot sooner or later.
So this league is very interestingly priced in the future market. High Point is a legitimately good basketball team. They're top 100 in KenPom. Top 25 offense. Yeah, they struggled on defense, but in this league, it hasn't mattered too much. So Superbook, where I've been pulling all these odds from here today, has High Point at minus 175. Everybody else is at least 7-1 here. Winthrop, the 3, 7-1. UNC Asheville, the 2, 7-1. Radford, the 4, 7-1. And UNC Asheville, the 3, 9-1. I can't really find an argument that isn't just, hey, it's a conference tournament and it's March. We can get chaos at any point. There's no basketball argument, at least on my end, for saying High Point isn't going to win this league, mostly because everyone in this league is horrible on defense. As you both just said with that ridiculously high total in game one, if there was one team in this league that was even a top 150 defense in KenPom, I would say, hey, that's the team to potentially look at. The highest rated defensive team in this league is Radford. They're 224th. That's one spot better than High Point themselves. I don't see an argument for anyone but High Point, but it is March. It is a conference tournament. We can get some weird stuff as we always do in these smaller leagues.
And looking at the bracket, Radford will have to play against High Point
early.
Yeah, does that help anybody on the other side? Do you still have Radford second?
I have Winthrop second right now, and I was just going to say I have High Point 9 points better than Winthrop. It's just there's no comparison to the two teams, but Jeff, you mentioned it's conference tournament time. Anything can happen. There's pressure. These kids want to go to the NCAA tournament, and at the end of the game when they're up 4 and they got to shoot the basketball, there's so much pressure on you. Regular season game, you hit the 3 and you go up 7, the other team fouls, and you win by 9 or 10. But this is a different story. And Winthrop is coached by Mark Prosser. His dad was the same way, as I mentioned, a couple other coaches. Prosser always did well as an underdog. He never could win as a favorite, and his son is probably the same way, and he's going to excel as an underdog. So I think Winthrop is a team to take a look at to possibly pull the upset in the conference.
It'll be the only way to even Winthrop would probably be the only one to potentially look at, like you said. I think actually seeing Radford early helps High Point a little bit. Rather see them in that semifinal than the final. All right, I want to hit one more that begins tomorrow because it'll be starting right as we get going tomorrow morning, and that's Arch Madness in St. Louis, Missouri Valley Conference. Good league as it has been for years now, guys. Tomorrow, right now, I don't see any lines for tomorrow's games yet, but you get 4 of them. Southern Illinois, Indiana State in the 8-9. Illinois State should be a nice size favorite against Missouri State tomorrow. Murray State and Evansville, and then UIC and Valpo round out the day, Kenny. But this is a tournament that has produced amazing moments throughout the years. And the Drake Bulldogs, who are the number 1 seed with a totally different team than a year ago, are the defending champions of this league, of course.
Southern Illinois just played Indiana State the last game of the year. Indiana State 95-77. I made this total pretty high, and I'm sure I'm going to have an overplay on it. I hope they're awake. I made Indiana State 2 and 166, Jeff.
So the over even 166 is a big number. Ken Pom projects 159. I can tell you'll be on that over if it's 159.
Oh, no doubt.
Tomorrow
over 161.
So just looking at the futures markets real quick in this tournament. So Drake plus 120, Bradley the 2 at plus 290, Northern Iowa the 3 at 5-1. Everyone else is double digits. Belmont at 12-1 and Illinois State at 16-1, and then it really falls off a cliff after that. So Drake, of course, totally different team than a year ago. Remember, of course, it was DeVries as their head coach now at West Virginia. He had Tucker, his son, who was his best player. They were actually in the tournament back-to-back years. They blew that game against Miami in 2023. Last year, they lose to Wazoo in round 1 as a 10 seed after winning this tournament. This year, they are the slowest team in college basketball. They hired Ben McCollum from Northwest Missouri State. He basically brought the whole D2 team with him, and they've been this monster success. And the question is, just in this sort of tournament, when you play so slowly, and you can have a bad offensive clunker, obviously, in these sort of games, neutral site, does that hurt? Does that take you out against the wrong team? I don't think it does, because I think they're the best team by margin in this league. Plus 120 on Drake, I think, is totally fair, but you would be better off money lining through and through, and you're going to get a better price than plus 120, because I don't think they're a big favorite against either Northern Iowa or Bradley in the championship game, Kenny.
I agree. I have Drake 113 rating, Bradley a 111.5, so a 1.5 over that team, and then Northern Iowa 109. Would be 3.5, but I think Drake beat Northern Iowa both games, and they're big rivals. I would adjust it to Drake 1. I'm going to be on the dog in either case, Bradley or Northern Iowa against Drake here. I like Ben Jacobson as a head coach too. I think his team will rally to beat Drake in the conference tournament.
I will just say, with how the bracket is set up, though, it did break very nicely for Drake, with Belmont falling to the 4 seed. And then even Murray State is one of the better ones down in the 7 through 10, and they're on the other side as well. So Bradley and Northern Iowa have a tougher track to get there to that championship game. I feel like Drake broke pretty easy on that side.
There's some good teams in this conference.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a good conference.
Well, and for Belmont, I think Belmont, we've talked about them. They play absolutely no defense. Yeah. That's a if that ends up being the case, if chalk prevails, and I'm not so sure the Redbirds don't beat Belmont right away, if that ends up being the matchup, it'd be a good spot for Drake. And when they played Belmont this year, they beat Belmont 65-46. Belmont had no idea what the heck to do against the slow style. So you are 100% right on that, Alex. Better draw for Drake, easier road to the final. Oh, and Bradley and Northern Iowa probably have to play each other in the semis, which is,
right.
Again, Bradley did beat Northern Iowa over the weekend, but still not a great draw on that one. All right, let's shout out to Chad, and then we'll take a quick break before some hockey, and then the whiteboards here today. 40 Kid, New Jersey's own. Love to see Fairleigh Dickinson after you make another magical run and win the NEC. Might be a little tough this year for that. Shout out to Cassandra and Charles, first time in the chat or new in the chat. Thank you for joining us. And then Robert asked us, does Janae Brown have any chance to win Player of the Year still? Or is Cooper Flagg going to end up winning this thing? That market has been fascinating because Flagg was a pretty significant favorite. Then after the Alabama win, Broom flipped to the favorite for about a week, and now Cooper Flagg's back out to over $5. So I think the writing's on the wall with that one, especially, and then as unfair as it is, I think Auburn's loss yesterday hurts Broom.
Yeah.
I think Flagg ends up winning this thing. And look, the voters are going to look for any reason to give it a Cooper Flagg, as we know. So to answer your question, Robert, I don't think so anymore. I think it is Flags on lock, and that market is right at minus 525.
I agree with you. I really do. And honestly, I mean, I do think that he means more to that team than Broom, who just has so much talent around him. But with all these awards, it really just matters what the voters think, right? And what they are thinking at that time. But I think it's Flags now.
You know, a freshman to do what he's done and carrying this team, you know, he's a one heck of a talent, Cooper Flagg is. So I agree with you. I think he's meant more to his team than any other player in college basketball this year.
And remember, he couldn't even be listed until he turned 18 in the middle of the season as well. But Flagg well on its way to winning Player of the Year. And Duke, of course, probably on their way to getting the number 1 overall seed now in the NCAA tournament. All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we go to the ice. 4 games to look at in the NHL, and the whiteboards will come as well. Right here, Sports by the Book, live at the South Point studio.
South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book. Jeff Parles, Alex White, Kenny White. We got the memo. We're all wearing black here this morning as well. All on it here in the Wednesday, March 5th, first Wednesday of the month of March. All right, let's go to the ice. Hockey has just been an overfest since the Four Nations ended, as we've discussed. And Alex, let's begin. Let's begin in New York here tonight. The New York Rangers welcome the Washington Capitals to Madison Square Garden here for this one. We have talked about how big of an overachiever Washington has been. Rangers have been the opposite, a big underachiever. Rangers are even at home, total of 6 here in this one.
They have been an underachiever, but they are starting to turn it around. I think it's a good time to bet on the Rangers. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. JT Miller coming over from Vancouver was huge for them and has been a big part of their success as of late. Washington finally got back on track, but still just 5-5 in their last 10. I just think there is value here with the even money price of the Rangers at home. They do have a winning record at home as well. So as bad as they've been on the road, they still are 13-2 at home. Not a huge play for me, just a lean to the Rangers and the desperation spot. I mean, the Capitals are 10 points ahead of the Canes in the Metro Division. So not that hockey players think that way, but I do think that the Rangers are playing desperate here at home.
Going to the next one in the NHL, right down the road from us. Good matchup. Inter-conference battle. Maple Leafs, Golden Knights. Toronto, nice sized dog in this one. You don't see that very often. Plus 140 on the Leafs. Golden Knights minus 60 on the takeback. Total of 6 here for this one.
So I have the Knights minus 128 at home. That would make the Maple Leafs plus 128 for me. 12-cent difference, not enough to really jump in there. Especially I want to give some for their winning streaks, but both of them have been on nice winning streaks. The Maple Leafs have won 4 road games in a row, and the Vegas Golden Knights have won 3. They have longer rest coming into this one, so I'm not going to jump there. I lean to the under. I do think this is going to be more of a playoff-style game, and I trust both goalies here with Joseph Wall and Aiden Hill, but not an official play. And I know I already scared Jeff when I said I had 2 other official unders because, yes, 7-3 to the over yesterday, and it's been like that since the break.
Been a bad go for the defenses and the goalies. And let's get to those unders now. We'll start with the team that has been as good as anyone with unders. The LA Kings welcome the Blues. Kings $1.60 at home. Total 5.5 juiced under here at minus 120, Alex.
The Kings really have. They are 6th in goals against, and they are 23rd in goals for. So averaging just 2.81 per game. Same thing with the Blues, though. They're 20th in goals for at 2.84 and tied for 18th in goals against. But Bennington has been playing very good since the Four Nations, and I trust Darcy Kemper on the other side. So I made this game 5, so I think we have some value here going under the 5.5. Even though current form, we do have to be a little careful because the Blues have been scoring more as of late. But I'm going to trust the numbers here and go under that 5.5.
Last one here on the hockey board. We go north of the border to Vancouver. Canucks, big favorites against the Ducks here tonight. 5.5 also on this one, Alex. Juiced over minus 15.
Juiced over, so that does make it a play for me because I have it 5.5 under minus 135. So nice 45, 50 cent difference there for me, going under 5.5 minus 105. The Ducks scored a lot yesterday, right? I was on that other side, but I'm going to go right back here because I had Anaheim and Edmonton under because of both teams really contributing to that. But Anaheim, they are tied for 29th in goals for, 2.62 per game, and Vancouver is 26 in goals for at 2.73. So trust both goalies here in this one as well. So under 5.5.
Under in Canucks, under in the Kings here for Alex here tonight and on the hockey board. All right, while we're setting up the boards real quick here, a few NFL notes and news here today. A lot has been going on. Well, DK Metcalf apparently just requested a trade, so that's one. Seattle losing Tyler Lockett. He gets released. He's probably coming to Vegas. The Bears completed another big trade for an O-lineman. They traded for Jonah Jackson yesterday. They trade for Joe Thuney this morning. So really improving their offensive line in Chicago. And then here in Vegas, Max Crosby becomes the highest paid guaranteed non-quarterback. 3-year, $106 million, 91.5 guaranteed for Crosby. Who, hey, look, we've talked about it here with Nevada and Florida and Texas teams. Those tax implications do matter, especially at this sort of number. But good on the Raiders for at least getting Crosby to stick around. This did not look like the easiest of tasks a few months ago, but credit to the new regime to at least get this done for Crosby.
Sure did. I mean, he's a great defensive player, and the quarterback's such an important factor, though. I'm not a general manager. Wish I was at times because the decisions they make sometimes I scratch my head and and think about how can we improve this team. If I could bring in 3 offensive linemen for Max Crosby, that's what I would do instead of paying him $106. They're not going to win. They're going to pay $106 million for him and not win. So I don't understand why making that investment. That's they must be dreaming if they think they're even going to make the playoffs. They're light years behind the other 3 teams in the division, and they build from the wrong direction. They've made every incorrect decision since they moved here. It's just, it's mind-boggling why they make these. And I love Max Crosby. He's got to be in the 5 best defensive linemen in the league right now. But that money could have gone so much further other places.
Well, it'll be interesting to see because the Raiders, of course, picking 6th in this NFL draft. It feels like the quarterback, other than Ward, probably going 1. Sanders has moved all over the map. We've seen him as high as 2 to Cleveland and as low as 7 to the Jets. If the Raiders think that, I have a hard time seeing the Raiders not picking Sanders if he's on the board. Cheap quarterback, regardless of what you think. That's when you win.
Yeah.
You either have a high-end quarterback,
Yeah.
or you have a guy in a rookie deal. So,
Right.
again, I have liked the coaching staff they built behind Pete Carroll. I've liked the Spy Tech clearly has a clue in comparison to the previous regime, but we'll see how it all plays out. But I get your argument there, Kenny.
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot of money to be spent, but they had a lot of tech cap room. They had the second most cap room in the NFL entering the offseason. All right, trivia answer before we get the whiteboards. Today's trivia question was true or false? Oh, wow. We're going true or false questions now. The Chicago Bears have always been called the Chicago Bears. That, of course, is false. They came in as the Decatur Staleys, then were the Chicago Staleys. And now with 1922, they were the Chicago Bears and have been that since then. And Nick has won 2 days in a row. The JR Invitational is now the JR and Nick Invitational. So 2 straight days for Nick. Again, in the bottom line, every single day, a trivia question Monday through Friday. All right, whiteboard time here on a Wednesday. And we will start on the far side of the desk today with Kenny here with a quartet of college hoops players.
A bounce back Wednesday, hopefully for me today. Took Maryland plus the 2.5. This has been moving during the show. I've seen as low as 1.5 now. So agreement that Maryland is the right side in this game. UMass St. Bonnie, I went under this total earlier. I went over a better number than this, but I still have a lot of cushion here. Big game for both teams, must-win situation. Marquette, I like. This is another one that is dropping. There's money in the market. This is 3.5 here at the South Point. I do see a 4 out at a couple of places, but 3.5 is now the market. And then Oral Roberts, Missouri, Kansas City. Got to throw in a tournament game. It's the play-in game in the Summit, under 136.
Alex?
All right, so yesterday I got there with my puck line parlay, so we're going to do it again today with the money line parlay in college basketball. Alabama minus 155 and Xavier minus 185 to give us plus 154. Clemson and Boston College, we're going under 137, or 137 and a half. I believe it's 137 now, though. I still like it there. NC State playing for their tournament spot, plus 2.5 at home. And then I like Mizzou and Oklahoma over 161.5. And then I also like Marquette getting the 4 with home revenge against UConn. I would play that even if it drops down to 3 points for the dog. Couple hockey. I do like the Rangers. This is a pizza money bet. And then my 2 best bets are 2 unders. We're going Blues and Kings under 5.5 and Ducks and Vancouver Canucks under 5.5. Lean to Vegas under as well. Maybe a little round robin for those 3.
A double-sided board here today for Alex White with hockey and college hoops. More college hoops coming the rest of this week. Again, conference tournaments are going to get underway. WCC tomorrow. Alex and I will be here discussing if St. Mary's can KO Gonzaga for the 3rd time in this college basketball season.
I'm pretty sure it's never happened, right?
That they've won all 3?
I believe Ryan said the 6 times they beat Gonzaga in the regular season, swept them in the regular.
Last 3 times.
Oh, last 3.
Last 3.
Wow, I doubled it too. I better be careful. Last 3 times. I'm making things up now. Last 3
that's
times.
6 wins.
Yeah, thank you.
You got the 6 one way or another. But,
Yeah.
But we'll see how it plays out.
So what happened the last 3
Last
times?
3 times St. Mary's swept in the regular season, Gonzaga won the conference tournament.
Well, again, it's a home game for the Zags. There's going to be 8,000 Gonzaga fans there, and there's going to be 300 St. Mary's fans, and that's the way it is every year.
I know last year I bet St. Mary's because what you said exactly happened, and because that's at the Orleans, it's a Boyd property, and the Boyd number got out of control on St. Mary's.
Oh, yeah.
Because all the Zags fans were just pouring it in, and it's like, this game should be like 2.5, and I think it closed 6.5. And St. Mary's 1 hour. It's like, all right, well, that's kind of one of those, especially if you're coming in. Well, not as much anymore because the Pac-12 isn't at T-Mobile anymore. But if you're coming in for the WCC, they're all staying at the Orleans. You can sometimes pick off some out of whack numbers at Boyd property because of that. So be on the lookout for that the next week. All right, that's all we got for you, Kenny, Alex. Good luck. Get some bounce back winners here on a Wednesday. Ryan, Sean, thank you as always. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex and I are back tomorrow, 10 a.m., getting you ready for everything right here on Sports by the Book live at the South Point studio.